Stink bomb in my shop? Here's what happened next. The bell above the door of the book nook chimed, a sound I usually loved. But this morning, it was just a mocking reminder of what wasn't happening. Customers weren't browsing, weren't chatting, weren't buying. They were running, gagging, and complaining about the ungodly stench that permeated every corner of my little shop. It smelled like a combination of rotten eggs, gym socks that had been marinating in a swamp, and something vaguely chemical. My stomach churned just thinking about it. What is that? Mrs. Higgins, bless her heart, had managed to venture in, her nose wrinkled like a prune. She was my most loyal customer, practically a fixture in the overstuffed armchair by the fireplace. I don't know, I choked out, waving a hand in front of my face. I found it like this when I opened. I've called the police. They're investigating it as vandalism. The police arrived. A young officer, clearly not thrilled about the assignment. He took notes, looked around, and made sympathetic noises. But I could tell he didn't have a clue. Probably just kids, he said, before leaving. Don't worry, ma'am, we'll keep an eye on it. Easy for him to say. He didn't have to try to salvage his business after someone unleashed a biohazard inside it. Mark, my best friend and part-time tech guru, arrived, his face a mask of concern. He immediately started sniffing the air, a grimace quickly spreading across his face. Holy mother of, what died in here? He asked, his eyes watering. That's what I'd like to know, I said, my voice tight with frustration. I had to turn away 3 customers already. This is going to kill me. Mark, ever the optimist, clapped me on the shoulder. Hey, we'll figure it out. Maybe it's just a prank, some dumb kids. We'll clean it up and everything will be back to normal tomorrow. I wanted to believe him, but a knot of dread was tightening in my stomach. This felt targeted. The grand opening of Megabooks, the soulless chain store across the street, had been just a month ago. Sales at the Book Nook had already taken a noticeable dip. Carl, the manager of Megabooks, had made no secret of his disdain for my independent business. Small businesses are dying, he'd said to me with a smarmy smile when we'd bumped into each other at the hardware store. It's just the natural order of things. People want convenience and low prices, not quaint charm. I brushed it off then, but now, the timing was too suspicious. The cleanup was a nightmare. We scrubbed, we aired out the shop, we even burned incense. But the lingering odor clung to everything. I had to close for the entire day, losing valuable business. Poured my heart and soul into creating a welcoming space for book lovers in our small town, and now it felt like someone was trying to rip it all away from me. The next morning, things were marginally better. The smell had dissipated somewhat, but the memory lingered in the air and in the minds of my customers. Foot traffic was still noticeably down. Mrs. Higgins came in, her face etched with worry. Sarah, dear, are you sure you're all right? This is just awful. I'm fine, Mrs. Arendt. Higgins, I said, forcing a smile. Just a little shaken up. But I'm not giving up. Her eyes twinkled with determination. That's the spirit. We won't let that scoundrel across the street win. Her words gave me a sliver of hope. I wasn't alone in this. I had Mark, Mrs. Higgins, and a whole community of loyal customers who loved the Book Nook. The next week was a blur of activity. Mark, being the tech whiz that he is, installed security cameras, hidden discreetly amongst the bookshelves. We started brainstorming ways to attract customers back to the store. Author readings, children's story time, themed book clubs. We threw everything at the wall to see what would stick. Then, another blow. I arrived one morning to find my posters torn down, replaced by garish ads for Megabooks. Someone had even defaced my flyers with crude drawings and nasty reviews. This is escalating, Mark said grimly, reviewing the security footage. But the camera didn't catch anything. My suspicions about Carl intensified. He was clearly trying to push me out of business, and he wasn't playing fair. Brenda, a young woman who'd recently started frequenting the Book Nook, overheard our conversation. She approached me hesitantly. I used to work at Megabooks, she said quietly. I quit last week. I couldn't stand it anymore. My ears perked up. Why? What happened? Carl, she said, her voice laced with bitterness. He's a bully. He's been obsessed with putting you out of business since day one. He even bragged about it, about how he was going to crush the competition. She told me about the pressure Carl put on his employees to push Megabooks products, about his disdain for independent bookstores, and about his overall toxic work environment. He's a terrible person, she concluded. I wanted you to know. Brenda's information confirmed my suspicions and ignited a fire within me. I wasn't just fighting for my business anymore. I was fighting against corporate greed and bullying tactics. Mark and I decided to hatch a plan. We couldn't prove anything definitively, but we could use Carl's arrogance against him. Let's give him what he wants, Mark said with a mischievous grin. Let's make him think he's won. We decided to stage a fake going out of business sale. We advertised deeply discounted prices on all our books, promising the lowest prices in town. The sale was scheduled for the following Saturday. The news spread like wildfire. Customers flocked to the Book Nook, eager to snag a bargain. The atmosphere was bittersweet. People were excited about the deals, but also saddened by the thought of the bookstore closing. And then, Carl showed up. He sauntered into the store, a smug expression plastered across his face. He surveyed the scene, taking in the crowded aisles and the everything must go signs. Well, he said, his voice dripping with false sympathy. Looks like things didn't quite work out for you, did they? I tried to warn you, small businesses just can't compete these days. I gritted my teeth, trying to contain my anger. We're just clearing out inventory, I said calmly, making room for new opportunities. He chuckled. Sure you are. Don't worry, I'll take good care of your customers. They'll be much happier at Megabooks. We have everything they could ever want, all under one roof. He continued to gloat, making condescending remarks about my business and boasting about the success of Megabooks. He was practically salivating at the thought of my failure. That's when Mark gave me the signal. Actually, Carl, I said, raising my voice so everyone in the store could hear, we have a little surprise for you. I gestured towards a large screen that Mark had set up earlier in the day. He pressed a button, and the screen flickered to life. It showed security camera footage, specifically footage from the Megabooks loading dock. The footage showed Brian, one of Carl's delivery drivers, sneaking into my shop early one morning carrying a suspicious-looking container. He carefully placed the container near the ventilation system and then quickly left. The container was labeled Industrial Strength Odor Bomb. The crowd gasped. Carl's face turned ashen. What? What is this? He stammered, his voice losing its arrogance. This, I said, my voice ringing with righteous anger, is proof that you sabotaged my business. You planted a stink bomb in my store to drive away my customers and force me to close. The police officer who had investigated the vandalism was standing in the back of the store. He stepped forward, his expression grim. Mr. Carl Peterson, he said, you're under arrest for vandalism and conspiracy. Carl sputtered, trying to deny the allegations, but the evidence was undeniable. The security camera footage was clear, and the crowd was overwhelmingly on my side. It's a lie, he shouted, his face red with fury. That footage is doctored. I would never do such a thing. Mark then showed the footage where Carl was telling Brian to do it. Brian, realizing the jig was up, cracked under pressure. He confessed everything, admitting that Carl had ordered him to plant the stink bomb. The crowd erupted in outrage. Customers who had been browsing the sale items began putting them back on the shelves, vowing to boycott Megabooks. I can't believe you would do something like that, Mrs. Higgins exclaimed, shaking her head in disgust. We're a community here. We support each other. How dare you try to destroy a local business? Carl was taken away in handcuffs, his reputation in tatters. Brian was also arrested as an accomplice. The news of the incident spread like wildfire throughout the town. People were disgusted by Carl's actions and rallied around the Book Nook. The going out of business sale was immediately canceled. Instead, we organized a celebration of reading event, complete with author readings, live music, and free refreshments. The event was a resounding success. The Book Nook was packed with customers, old and new, all eager to support my business and show their solidarity. Megabooks, on the other hand, suffered a devastating blow. Sales plummeted, and the store was soon deserted. Carl was facing serious legal repercussions, and his career was effectively ruined. In the end, Carl's scheme had spectacularly backfired. He had tried to destroy my business, but instead, he had strengthened it. He had underestimated the power of community and the enduring appeal of a good book. A few months later, I was back behind the counter at the Book Nook, happily recommending books to customers. The store was filled with laughter, the comforting scent of old books, and the warmth of a community that had rallied together to support something they loved. Mrs. Higgins was perched in her usual armchair, reading a well-worn copy of Pride and Prejudice. Mark was tinkering with the computer, updating our website and promoting our latest events. As I looked around at my beloved bookstore, I realized that I had not only survived, but thrived. Carl had tried to take away my livelihood, but he had ultimately given me something far more valuable: a renewed sense of purpose and an unwavering belief in the power of community. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply living well and proving that genuine passion and community spirit can triumph over corporate greed. And with that, I heard the bell above the door chime yet again, the start of another beautiful day in the Book Nook.